Hello, and welcome to our masterclass for today. Welcome to the Student Success School YouTube channel. I'm so excited to have you here today. My name is Portia Williams, also known as the Student Success Coach. And what I do is I help grades K through 5 parents confidently speak up on their child's behalf without being seen as the angry parent so that they can help their child achieve academic success. So, why, right? Like, what is this really all about? Who am I? What is this really all about? I like to share this when I'm led to let you all know a little bit about who I am and go deeper about what's the reason I do what I do, right? So I was a child who really struggled academically, especially early on in my academic school career. I will start with this. I had amazing parents who provided for me. Like I never was hungry, I never was thirsty. Pampers were never wet. Like they did an amazing job providing for me. Academically, my parents were the ones that showed up to the school. And when they did, honey, the teachers did not want to see them coming. Okay, I'm gonna just be honest. My parents weren't the ones you wanted to play with. They weren't. They were not the ones you wanted to play with. And so as I got older, I knew like my parents were viewed in this way where they could be seen as the angry parent, but there was a reason why. They wanted me to achieve academically. It's just that they didn't have the tools to help me, like the know-how, how to help me per se achieve academically. And so it came off frustrating, it came off angry. And then my parents were like, you're not gonna play with my child, period. Okay. Cause I'm about mine. And so they had this very strong personality of really showing up and being present, but one of the things that I know known is that being seen as the angry parent doesn't always get you results, right? People might be afraid of you. They might not act up, right? They might even pass me along and make you feel good as a parent, right? But that doesn't mean that results, true results, are happening. Excuse me. And so that's what I want to uncover today. For so many parents, one of the things that I know is that if your a child is struggling academically, you want to be there for your child. But then there are some fears that actually come up, right? Some fears like, what if something's really wrong with my child, right? Like, what if something's really wrong? All right, what if something's wrong with them academically? Those fears come up no matter if you're taking charge, right, or not. Your mind can start to play tricks on you, right? You start to think things that may not be logical, may not be the reality, or that you fear that it is. And so that's what we're going to dig deep into today. This topic and this fear of what if something is wrong with my child? And what do I mean wrong with your child academically? So, welcome to the Student Success School. My allergies have been acting up. I feel a little bit better, but just bear with me as we go through this class. And I promise to do my best to serve you without like sneezing. I'm gonna do my best. All right. So, and if you're on, say good afternoon to me. Say good afternoon to me. Right. So this week to prepare for this class, I like to do some engagement with parents. And I was talking about something that I know very so well, right? This truth, right? And it could be a shock for so many people. But if you have this fear that something could be wrong with your child academically, right? I shared that your child may not necessarily have a learning disability. Okay. Sometimes that's like the worst thing that parents will begin to think like, my child has a learning disability, right? And that's what's wrong with them. But that's not always the case, right? Getting them tested for a certain learning disability or ADHD, right? Or going to see how many resources or really dig deep into different resources, right? Maybe you're getting their eyes exam to try to see like what's the real problem, right? You're trying to get down to the problem. And so sometimes you'll start to make appointments and really just do any and everything that you can to try to get the support or the help that you need for your child academically, or you're just trying to get to the answer, right? And so you'll do anything to try to see what your child's real problem is. And I get it. But sometimes, right, that's not what's going on, right? Where your child has a learning disability. And when that isn't the truth, that your child doesn't have a learning disability, no, I'm not talking to everybody. I'm talking about if you think or fear that your child has a learning disability and then you realize they don't, right? There are so many children that do have challenges academically, and then we come to find out they have a learning disability. But that's not what I'm talking about, right? That's not what this class is all about. I'm talking particularly, but this could also relate if your child has a learning disability, so it's good to listen in anyway. But I'm talking about when you've reached out and the answers have been no, right? And we can't seem to really get down to the problem, or your child has been diagnosed with a learning disability just because we're just going to say they need like a 5014 5 a IEP, right? If they need an individual education plan, right? Or 501. My brain right now. I'll put it in the comments in a minute once it comes to me what I'm trying to say. Um, my point for saying this, right, is there are children that necessarily have these challenges. They need a IEP, right? But I want you to listen in regardless. Okay, just listen. Okay, because I'm going somewhere. It might not be that your child has a learning disability. It may just be that they have another challenge that needs to be addressed, and that doesn't mean it's a learning disability. And the reason I say this is because there are so many students who are diagnosed with ADHD and they are on medicine, and there are other alternatives that could have been done before they get on medication or before we just assume that they have ADHD, right? And I teach this in our VIP days. What is a VIP day? A very important parent day where I coach parents and we uncover and dig deep in. I present solutions for parents, right? That they can use that will help their child individually. And I say this because learning styles make a difference. If you don't know a child's learning style, I don't think that you should automatically assume that they have ADHD. Okay. So that's like a sidebar. Why do I say that? A learning style would also help you understand how a child best learns. So if they're in class, right, and all they do is sit down all day, right? Yeah, they might be fidgeting. That might not necessarily mean they have ADHD, right? So I'm not going to get too much of that. That's more personal coaching. But my point is the learning disability may not be the the main issue, right? That might not be what's happening. It could be that your child has another challenge that needs to be addressed. But this is what I know, no matter if it's ADHD, right, or it's your child has a learning disability or not, if you fear something's wrong with your child, your grades K through 5 child, here's what's at risk. If you fear something's wrong, right? If you fear something is wrong, when you're not moving and you're not doing anything about it, right? Or doing the right things to help your child, right? Number one, the real challenge does not get solved. So you have this fear and you're only living in fear and not living in the shift that needs to happen to help your child academically. So that's a problem because no results are happening. The problem is not getting solved. Okay. The problem is not getting solved. So that's the first thing. Secondly, it wasn't the best hair day. Secondly, I thought about this too. When you have this fear that your child isn't, that something may be wrong with your child, right? The actual child probably is lacking confidence in the classroom because of whatever fear that, excuse me, whatever challenge is really going on. So let's exclude learning disabilities because remember, I said this class isn't necessarily about a child who has a learning disability. But that's say you fear that something's wrong, that they might, right? When you don't get down to the bottom of it, right? Your child, as you fear, they're not as strong, as confident, right, in the classroom because of whatever problem, whatever challenge it is, right? So no matter whatever the challenge is, and we'll talk about some of those challenges if you like and what those challenges is are, because I know what many of them can be. We could talk about that, right? How we could talk about that later, I'll share. But whatever that challenge is, right? They're not showing up as confident in the classroom. So you have a fear and they don't have confidence. At the same time, it's working together, it's simultaneously. You're afraid something's wrong and they aren't doing what's right at the same time. Okay. And something else. While you're fearing, you're overwhelming yourself. You're stressed out, right? Whether it's subtle, right? And nobody else knows, or you're laying up at night thinking about it. You and your spouse is laying in the bed like, yo, like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Because they're struggling. So I want to encourage, right? Any grade K through 5 parent who fears that something may be wrong with your child academically, right? If that's your fear, I want you to shift from the fear to really understanding your child's real learning challenge. Okay? Not what you fear, but what it really is. Okay? Because identifying your child's real challenge is going to get you the right support that is needed. All right? So you want to know the real challenge. Don't fall for you thinking that, oh, they have a learning disability, right? Know the truth because it's a big possibility that your child does not have a learning disability. All right. And so I can tell you this, right? Because this is my story, right? I was a child who struggled academically, and my parents did everything. They got me tested. They bought hooked on phonics, right? They got a eye exam for me. They had my teacher move me from the back, the middle to the front of the class. And guess what? They moved me 500 times and I still wouldn't stop talking. I would talk in the front of the class. I would talk in the middle of the class. I would talk in the back of the class. I'm just going to talk, right? And one of the things that I say this for those you don't know, I just published a book. It's entitled Take Charge, right? If you want that information, I can give it to you. Just comment below and I'll post it, right? But one of the things that I share in the book is that I would have loved for my parents to know. My problem wasn't that I had a learning disability, right? It wasn't necessarily necessary that I needed, right, a IEP or a 504, right? I think that's what I was trying to say earlier, a 504. Let me type that in the chat. 504. 504, right? Or IEP. Yep. IEP. Um, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. So that way parents parents would know, right? Um, it wasn't necessarily right that those were my problems or my issue. The truth is, I just was a social butterfly, honey, a social butterfly. Okay, and I enjoyed talking in class. These are human beings. Let's talk, right? But as I got older, I realized that's all a part of my learning style. I'm an auditory learner, right? So naturally, how communication and talking and listening is how I learn, right? Naturally, I am a visual learner. So to see you, to be in your presence, like those are good things, right? And so those are tools that I would have loved for my parents to know. Not necessarily that I had a problem academically, but that the even those strengths, right, could have very well helped me academically. The personal strengths that I had could have very well helped me academically. And that's why I need you to understand fearing that something is wrong with your child puts you at great risk, right? Because you'll never get down to what the real problem is, right? You'll never be able to really see how you can really help them when you're stuck in fear, right? You're not going to let go to actually embrace the help that is going to come and the real answer, right? Because you still have fear. Your child is lacking more confidence in the classroom. The problem is happening and you're afraid. Nothing's changing. And you're adding more stress and overwhelmed. So here is what the answer is. Here's the answer. Here's the solution that I believe any grades K through 5 parent, right, that fears something is wrong with their child should do. I stand on it. Understand what your child's real learning challenge is. And I'm telling you, getting that clarity of identifying your child's academic challenge, it's going to help you get the right support, the real support that you need for whatever that challenge is. And it might not be that they have a learning disability. Okay. All right. So that wraps up my class today. That's it. 16 good minutes. Bless you. And it was less than that, right? Because I did an intro. But I love you all so much. For any of you, this is your opportunity. If you want to talk about how to understand, right, what your child's learning challenge is, this is the opportunity for you to just get on the phone and talk to me about it. Let's uncover what the challenge is. Let's dig deep. I will put everything that I have into helping you get that clarity, right? Of course, I need to get to know you and see what your child's challenge is. So I'm gonna need a level of opening up. But I promise if we open up, we will be able to get clarity, right? Of really understanding what your child's learning challenge could be. Okay. So we'll start there. And if we are able to get that clarity on what the challenge is and you want to work with me one-on-one so that I can help you, you'll have that opportunity with a VIP day. But at minimum, let's get on the phone and let's talk, right? Let's talk so that you can begin to help your child in whatever challenge that they're having, academically. Let's get to solving that problem, okay? So that their challenge actually will become success. And then that way you can really get the support that you need as well. All right. So I love you all so much. I just am so grateful for each and every one of you. Until we chat again, I love you much and talk to you next time. Bye.